and apart from Smriti, nobody can have their phones out. Please keep your phones on silent. So, yeah, undefining normal. What is normal? I have to start with that. I don't really know what normal means. It's been redefined so many times. How many of you think that you're normal? One, two, three. What am I doing here? I should just go. Yeah, so I looked up this morning the word normal on Google, and Google says that normal is conforming to the standard or the common type. Not very attractive. Common doesn't mean anything special, right? Usual, not abnormal. That's not a very helpful definition. Regular and natural. Okay, so normal is all these things, but normal I think has also become split into categories of socially normal and accepted norms, as well as what is natural and normal, what is instinctive, what, listening to our own emotions and our own inspirations and our own instincts. And I guess that's something that I really tapped into while I was preparing for Margarita. So Margarita came to me, the script came to me, and of course the first thing that attracts you is oh, this is a different story. This is not normal. This is something that you get excited by because it's not been done before. So I went in reading that script with the idea that it's not normal. And as soon as I started reading, about 10 minutes into the script, Lila's wheelchair disappeared. I started seeing her as a real person, as a normal person. I started seeing her through the eyes of a concerned friend. Will she get the guy? Is she going to do it with that guy or this one? Is her mom going to find out? All of these things. So that's what really stood out, the normalcy of this script, especially when we talk about disability, because I think with disability, we tend to glorify it in some way. We tend to say, okay, despite being disabled, this person has achieved this, and this. Or despite being disabled, this person is such a good person. We have this tendency to portray disability in this way in cinema. And here was a script which showed Lila to be a horny teenager, bratty, chalu, makes mistakes, and who's learning, who's on a journey of self-discovery and ultimately finding herself. In fact, the script earlier was called I Have Me. Because more than, of course she finds Khanum and of course she finds love, but more than all of that, she discovers herself. And yeah, that is the process which I was looking for when I was doing the film. How will I find this character which is so different from me, so, something I didn't know anything about cerebral palsy when I started this film. I knew nothing. How was I going to make that normal for me? How was I going to make Lila part of who I am? So the first step was meeting Malini, who is my director's cousin. Shonali's cousin, Malini Chip, has cerebral palsy. And she's a fantastic woman. She works with ADAPT, Center for Disability. She writes a lot of articles on disability. And so Malini was very patient with me in the sense that she just let me watch her, observe her, stay with her. And of course the first temptation as an actor is to imitate the person, to copy them. To start trying to talk the way they talk or move the way they move. And I found myself very quickly getting into a trap of being very predictable and very boring, in the sense that Malini was unpredictable. She would never do the same thing twice. She might grab this cup this way one time and that way another time, as we all do. Nobody, tends to do the same movement exactly the same every time. So how do you imbibe someone's disability or someone's habits without making it inhuman in a way, robotic? So this was the first challenge that came to me. And I think how I went about it was, first I freaked myself out by just ordering every book online there was on cerebral palsy. I thought, if I have knowledge is power. I'll just find out everything about cerebral palsy. I read all the books. I read books by people with cerebral palsy, about people with cerebral palsy, medical books on cerebral palsy. I watched movies like My Left Foot, Oasis, movies on sex and disability, like The Sessions. And I found myself with all this information. And in a way, information brings confidence. It brings a sort of empowerment. You know what you're talking about. It's great for interviews. But it doesn't really have anything to do with acting. It's like, being a physicist and then flying a plane. You might know everything about how to fly a plane. You might understand the theories behind it, but until you fly a plane, you don't know how to fly a plane. So I think that the next step for me was going out there with Malini and doing the work of being Laila. Now, being Laila meant, of course, sitting in a wheelchair, trying to understand how the muscles work. And the really important people that helped me with that were Malini's physiotherapist and speech therapist, because they broke down the parts of the body and how they work. So basically, cerebral palsy is a sort of almost like a loose connection between the mind and the muscle. So you are still able to do the same things that any other person is able to do. I was going to say normal, but that's not the right word. But it just takes you a little while longer. It's like a loose connection. It just takes a little while, and you need to practice the muscle a lot more in order to get there. And it requires constant training, which is why Malini has to see a physiotherapist and a speech therapist on a weekly basis. So the physiotherapy, the understanding of how the muscles work, really sort of helped me, as well as how breathing works, because breathing is also a muscle. The lungs are a muscle. So once breathing is affected, it also affects the pattern of your voice. It affects how you talk. It affects how low your voice goes. So, my voice, when I have shallow breath, becomes much lower, and because I'm trying to save as much of it as I can, and I also run out of breath halfway through the sentence. So you break up your sentences much more. You take a breath in between. And the tongue is also a muscle. So the tongue, imagine if you cannot move it as easily as we do. Almost as if someone is holding your tongue and you're trying to talk. That is a little bit how it is for Malini to talk. So, for example, a word like beautiful. The tongue, when you say tongue or beautiful, it hits the roof of the mouth, right? Now, for someone with CP, it's a lot more difficult to hit the roof of the mouth. So she would use a shortcut and say beautiful, because you're just putting the tongue in front of your teeth. So it was breaking down these little words and movements with Malini, with her speech therapist and her physiotherapist, breaking all of these movements down and practicing them. And a very essential part of all of this was one day Malini and me, we were sitting, both of us on wheelchairs, going around, spending the whole day, doing our activities and everything. And at the end of the day, I said, okay, Malini, I'm going home, and I got off the wheelchair and left. And she said, see, at the end of your day, you can get up and walk. And that's the difference between you and me. And that obviously struck me, made a huge impact on me. And that was when I realized that I had to make this daily riyaz. I had to make it daily practice, and something that I couldn't leave. It had to become so much a part of me. And as actors, I don't think we tend to do that enough, If you're a musician, it's normal for you to practice your instrument on a daily basis. If If you're a singer, you do riyaz every morning. But as actors, I don't know if we use our instruments every single day. And this film forced me to do that. For 6 months, for 2 hours every day, I would just be Laila. Much to the disappointment of family members and everybody around me. My brother used to hate it when I used to call him on the phone. Or he used to call me and I would be talking as Laila and he'd be like, I'm calling you back later. And Anurag would carry me up the stairs and, everything. I made breakfast, breaking many eggs and eggshells into my eggs as Laila. But this routine of doing it every single day for 6 months was something which nothing else can replace. It's something where it becomes muscle memory. Just like your musician, after a while, doesn't need to read the music off the piece of paper. He knows exactly where his fingers are going, and it's not cerebrally connected. It's not his brain telling him what to do. He feels the music. He becomes that person. In the same way, when you do this kind of riyaz for a long period of time, your muscles take over. There is a sort of intelligence within your body which takes over. So I have finished this whole process, which took about 6 months, and I thought, I think we're doing well. Shonali had filmed a little bit and she was happy with what she was seeing. And she said, okay, now we're doing a 3-week workshop just before you start the film. I was like, 3-week workshop? What for? I'm fine, I'm sorted, I'm working on it, I'm fine. She's like, no, this is someone actually you know. He's Shopanda, he's from the ashram in Pondicherry. So I knew of Shopanda, I'd seen him in my childhood, but I had never learned under him. I didn't know that he did theatre. And it was through Adil Hussain, a common friend of ours, that Shopanda was put in contact with Shonali. Shopanda comes for 3 weeks to Delhi. I go to Delhi. And on day 1, Shonali is standing in the room watching very eagerly. And Shopanda spends half an hour sipping chai, talking to me about French movies, this, that, whatever, what's it like in Bollywood. Finish it, and Shonali's getting a bit shuffly, like we're from films, like time is very important, like what are we doing? Let's see some results, And then Shobana says, Shonali, I think you should sit. So she sits, and he talks to me for another half an hour about something completely unrelated to the film. Then finally, Shonali says, can we start some work? And he's like, oh, I thought we were working. She's like, no, I mean on the script. So he says, okay, fine. Kalki, choose one of your favorite scenes from the script. So I flipped the pages to one scene. And he said, okay, now start with the first line of the scene. And so I got, I took a little time to get into the character of Laila, to get into the physical posture, voice, and I started saying the dialogue. And he said, I literally started saying, and he said, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I said, I'm doing the lines. He said, I don't want to see Laila. I don't want to see the character. I just want to see you. Do the line as yourself. Just mean it. Don't say anything if you don't mean it. I was like, okay. So I dropped the whole Laila act and I start again and I say, stop. You didn't mean it. And this went on for about 2 hours where I managed to just say, you're beautiful. The line was, you're beautiful. And he went on and on, making me do it again and again until I felt so nervous and so sharp that every hair on my body, like I was so scared, it's like the guy with the stick, the guru with the stick who's going to hit you every time you get it wrong. And you're so aware and alert that you don't say anything until you really mean it. And that process was, it's irreplaceable and it's not something I think you can really describe, but you understand it's something that really opens up this honest portrayal of a person. And he used to call it the nervous transcript. He said, inside your body, we are constantly feeling so many things. And when you throw away a line, you're letting go of so many things that you're feeling. And it's so important that you go back to the actual physical feelings that it gives you, the feelings that it makes you feel inside you, the stomach churning and all of those things. When you say, because when you're doing a film, you are actually selecting some of the most dramatic moments of that person's life. It is not just a scene to throw away. Very, very, very rarely do we have throwaway scenes. We have scenes which are very, very important, which are life-changing in that person's life. And so it is so important to value that and be so aware of what is happening to your body, to the person in front of you, to connect with them, to react to them. And this was something very, very precious that Shobanda taught me right before I did the film. So yeah, this was a very long process to find and make Laila me and me Laila, and make her normal for me and me normal for her. And the result was that I was able to be very free on set. I wasn't planning where my hand would go, what I would say, how I would say it. A lot of times when I'm shooting a film in the past, I would plan that this is how I have to be sad in the scene, I have to do it like this. But when you've been living the character for so long, and also when I got on set, I was Laila all the time, 24/7. So I never got out of the chair. And what that does to you, when you don't leave that chair 24/7, even when you need a glass of water and you have to wait for somebody to get it for you. Or people also didn't recognize me, so they would talk to me in a very infantile way, like, how are you, beta, can I get you something? And I had seen this happen to Malini before, and Malini has gone to Oxford, she's written a book, and she's a very smart woman. And, somebody would come up to her and go, how are you? And she would say, I'm fine, are you okay? Because she would get so frustrated. But yes, this feeling when you're constantly in that chair cannot be replaced by anything else until you do it for 24/7 all the time. The result was that I was able to improvise. I was able to not be afraid of making the next move or making a move that was unplanned. And I'll give you an example, which is a scene which was deleted from the film because lots of scenes were deleted because they were too long. And this scene basically is Laila going to the bathroom, which is not a disabled-friendly bathroom. And obviously, she struggles there. But that was it. It was just one line in the script. Laila goes to a non-disabled-friendly bathroom. But it's about 3 minutes long, so we just, we improvised it on the spot, and you'll see the scene. This need to constantly practice something until it becomes muscle memory and part of your inner transcript, your nervous transcript. Then I want to talk about Margarita as a film which itself questions so many norms. Now, I would like to talk about Khanum because I think that Khanum is a character which, who really sort of breaks all these stereotypes of what is normal. I mean, she is, somebody who is unable to see, and yet she shows Laila metaphorically so many things. You know, she's the one who sort of guides her, who teaches her about love, but also teaches her about New York, who shows her what it means to face yourself. She herself talks about her first time and her first experience when she spoke to her mother about being gay. And so I think the film is constantly talking about this idea of normal, which we constantly have. We constantly make these little boxes for everyone, right? We say, you belong here. Okay, this is your idea of normal. You belong in this category, you're goth. But what if you're goth and you like classical music, what if you are an auntie but you like techno music, I mean, these are things which start breaking the norm. And I think it's really important to say that normal is actually being different. Normal is the idea that all of us are unique and all of us have something in us which makes us unique. There's this second deleted scene which I want to show you, which is Khanum's scene, which is her introduction scene. So I'll just talk about it after we see it. The next. Stay in our boxes. That was good. Yeah.
Was going to make more cuts to his in-home services.
Hey, we should petition Governor Poe to add sex workers to the IHS.
Guys, we've got to come out of this rally right now.
And that's our Khanum, always on the march.
This is serious, Adrian. A black teenager has been shot dead by NYPD. He's a freshman in our university.
I I agree with Dana, that's terrible, but what can we do about it?
Raise our voices manually. Demand the arrest of the officer. The entire campus is on deadline on us. We have our own issues, and there's no one else to take those on. So let's all just stay in our little boxes. The blacks only worry about the blacks, the gays only worry about the gays.
Yeah. Yeah. So this said deleted scenes, the sound and all is a bit off. But you get the idea. The idea of, even as a disabled community, there's a tendency to isolate oneself and say, okay, we have enough problems to deal with on our own. We're not going to talk about other people's problems. And, Khanum is someone who's like, no, we should go out and fight for every issue that needs justice. So I think that we often find ourselves in those boxes that, we will fight for this cause, but, let somebody else fight for those causes. And for me, I think in all of this, when I try to understand what is normal, the one thing that seems to be important for me to be normal is a consistency. Is the idea that you are consistent to yourself and you try to understand who you are and constantly progress in that. So while there is so much pressure in society to be normal, that actually takes a lot of effort, that kind of normal where you have to dress a certain way or speak a certain way or sit a certain way, say the right things at the right times. It requires a lot more effort than you actually working on yourself on a daily basis and saying, okay, I do have a problem with this and I will talk about it even if it is uncomfortable. So yeah, normalcy, there's a really nice definition that Adil Hussain illustrated to me, which is a story about this potter. Okay, he's a Japanese potter, the greatest potter in the world. And so this potter is really world famous. Everybody is like going on about how amazing his pottery is. In no time he can make the most fantastic pottery. And one day the Americans hear of him, so of course they want to film him. So some American journalist goes and flies all the way to Japan, and they go to get to Tokyo, and they're like, do you know about this famous potter? Do you know where he lives? And they're like, yeah, he lives on this mountain over there. And so they go trekking all the way. They take many roads, and they finally get to the top of this mountain, and they find this old man, 80-year-old man, sitting there surrounded by all this pottery and beautiful works of art. And they're like really excited, and they get their cameras out and they say, oh, it's so fantastic to meet you, we're absolutely excited, we can't wait to see your work. Do you think that you could maybe give us like a little demonstration of your pottery, because we got to show the world like how wonderful you are, and we got here our biggest TV channel to take care of that. And he's like, yes, no problem. So they get the camera rolling, and then they get the stopwatch ready as well, because they've heard that he's really fast and incredibly precise. So they put the stopwatch on, they start rolling, and they say, okay, please start. And he starts, and he makes this incredible work of art with extreme precision, and it's just stunning. And the stopwatch gets stopped, and she says, wow, you did that in 2 minutes and 32 seconds, it's amazing. And he says, no, madam, I did that in 80 years, 2 minutes and 32 seconds. And I think that's what normalcy is about. It's about living each and every moment. And if you want to be what you want to be in 10 years, then you need to start being what you want to be now and working now. The clock is ticking, there's no more time left. So it's really about that. And that's really the end of my talk, that live every moment like it is preparing you for your biggest performance, which is life. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, please go and ask questions, because I'm sure there's many.
You have to see the movie again. And ask what you said, there's so much involved.
Yes, yes.
It's unbelievable.
There's a lot of precision involved.
Too much.
Yeah.
I don't know how
And
you
there's lots
can-
of detailing, you know, which
So much
Shonali
there.
I think has got. There's lots of detailing. There's things I forgot to say, like the funeral scene when her mother dies. I don't know if you noticed, but she wears a bright pink kurta, you know, and it's details like that where, you know, it was, for us it was about Laila's mother loving colors, and so she wore this bright pink, and it's also about celebrating her mother rather than mourning her, and you know, and how she lets go of her mother in that sense, and also breaking tradition, breaking rituals, you know, the way she enters and kind of shocks everybody, but her father allows her to come and play that tape, and it's her mother's voice, and it's almost as if her mother is living on. You know, so all these things I think are wonderful that Shonali has managed to capture.
So when you prepare for a role like this, it's kind of like method acting, right? You spend 2 hours every day being Laila.
Yeah.
How do you snap out of it? And also when you finish the movie.
Actually, when I finished the movie, I was so exhausted that it was almost a relief to get out of it, because it was emotionally tiring, physically tiring. I got a very bad back problem after this. But I did find some of the habits for a while, like I would go out for a drink and I would grab my beer like Laila. So, and there were times where I was doing my play on stage and my voice started doing Laila, and I was like, oh, so there are certain habits. It's funny how you can slip into them. But I think overall it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like you feel like you feel empowered. I don't know, like I was able to confront people with disability a lot more comfortably. I was able to, you know, just understand better how things work or question them. Yeah, I think it just opens up your mind. Yeah.
When an actor plays a role like this, there is a sense of responsibility that he or she has to portray the character very truthfully. I mean, which isn't there in maybe many other roles. So, at any point during the filming, after you had done your preparation and all of that, did you see some take where you thought, okay, I was being kind of artificial or I wasn't truthful, and did that burden you as a
So
person?
I chose not to ever look at the shots. I never knew anything about what I looked like, because for me it was really important not to be self-conscious for this role. So I never saw any of my takes. I was extremely nervous during the preparation. During the preparation for the film, I was very worried that I won't be able to do justice to this. And I kind of made a deal with Shonali. We said that even after 4 months of practice, we decided we would shoot what we had, and if it wasn't convincing, we would drop it. We were ready to do that because it was so important that it should be convincing. So I had to put my trust in Shonali. And because she's grown up with a sister who has cerebral palsy, I knew that she would be the eyes to recognize where I was going wrong. During the film, occasionally maybe Shonali would say, you know, that movement didn't seem right, do that again. But yeah, I wasn't looking at myself at any point, so I wasn't able to, and I just had to trust my instinct and trust Shonali.
Tell me, if you are this character all the time on set, when Shonali was telling you something that was, I mean, you were not enacting a scene, and she was telling you how to do it perhaps better or differently, would you respond as Laila? How would that work?
Yeah, I would talk like Laila, but of course respond as Kalki in the sense that if I had a question, I would ask the question, but I would ask it as Laila. So, yeah. So it was odd for all the other actors, you know, because they were just like, they knew Kalki, but they never saw Kalki on set. They always had to speak to this person who was in a wheelchair. And in fact, there was one guy, he was I think he was a costume guy. He was on my film Dev B. And he saw me in this role, and he was like, so sad she's had this accident. He didn't understand that I was playing a role, and he thought this had happened to me. So, yeah. Yes?
I would like to be on this field.
Yes.
Louder.
Do you want the mic? Is it better?
Louder.
Better?
A little beyond the movie
Yeah.
itself. You spoke about areas
Yeah.
and very correctly pointed that a singer or a dancer has that practice.
Right.
For an actor, what is the practice in between roles when you're not playing a role at all? Or not preparing for one also?
Yeah.
What is the practice for that?
So, I mean, there are many different methods for different people. For me, it's a lot of tongue exercises because I find Hindi to be my biggest impediment working here because it's not my natural language. I wish I was doing Tamil films. But, so I find doing a lot of exercises with my tongue, the scooter exercise, and then, you know, there are many exercises, and speaking dialogue with a pen or small something in between your teeth, so that you start understanding exactly where your tongue is going. So right now, for example, I'm trying to get this American accent, and it's very difficult for me because I've never lived there. I don't know anything about it. I don't know. When I try to do an American accent, I sound like a sweet valley high girl, like really stupid. So I have to really break that. And so it's just, I'm doing this practice. But that will change when I'm not doing a film. I sometimes just pick up monologues, and I don't use them as trying to perform the monologue. I don't even go there. I never perform the monologue. Maybe I sing it, or I say it really fast, or I say them really slowly and precisely and with my mouth and bowels opening. So I do a lot of that kind of exercise. Other than that, I mean, this is not something daily riyaz that I do, but you know, again, using the body and breaking the body into parts. I do that a lot in theatre. We do that a lot for theatre. But I wish I was disciplined enough to do it every day. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You seen the Rain Man?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I've seen it long time.
Dustin Hoffman plays a role in autistic man.
Yeah.
And you hear me?
Yes.
Right, yeah. So it reminded me a little bit, this movie reminded me a little bit of Rain Man. But more interestingly, it affected Dustin Hoffman in such a way that there was a lot of people who said there was a before Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman, and then after Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman, that somehow his acting had been affected and transformed by that role.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel there will be a part of Laila that will remain with you forever?
I hope so.
It's quite intense, right?
I'll know in some time, I guess. I'll know. I do feel that after doing that kind of preparation and giving that kind of time, how to say, like, I feel like you need to do that, or you should do that for every character. I don't, because we don't get that kind of time to prepare for a role. You get a script and 3 weeks later you might be shooting it. So you don't, but I do know that that precision can take a character so much further. So it's coming more and more. Like, you know, for example, now I know that I have this American character, whatever, that I'm doing in November. So I've started 1 hour a day of speaking, listening to that woman's voice, because it's based on a real woman's life. So listening to her voice, you know, getting used to the way she talks, the breathing that she has. And that's something I would never have done before, Margarita. I didn't know. I hadn't discovered it before. So yeah, I'm sure it has affected me to some degree. Of course, if I go to that kind of film, I might not be that much practice. Like, depends on the film.
In a related context about this film, there is a national award, deservedly yours. If you tell us something about what it felt like, because again, that's before Margarita and after Margarita.
The national award?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I was just, thrilled that I got a national award, just because, like, it assured me of my desiness. Because I've spent my life like defending my Indianness, because white skin, my skin is white, my heart is brown, so I have a lot of trouble explaining to people that I'm actually Indian born here, brought up here, but my parents are French, etc. So this was like firstly a validation of my Indianness, that the President of India has stamped me. And on top of that, I think the fact that a film like Margarita, in a country where homosexuality is criminalized, is incredible. It's like a nod from the government to recognize that film and to give that award is really
I think it's a coming of age for the national award itself.
Yeah. Yes?
Has this role been professionally and emotionally your most satisfying one so far?
I guess. For me, it's like I get so excited about every single role that I do. That the newest one is the most precious. It's like your newest child. The others are still important, but they're grown up. They can handle themselves now. Now it's like the new baby. So yeah, I was very proud of Margarita when I did it, but now it's like stressing about the next thing. Yes.
In one of the interviews, I heard Mr. Nasiruddin Shah say that the desire for him to act came from a sense of dissatisfaction, of being unhappy in his childhood, of not being normal. I guess that's the way I would phrase it. And a lot of actors that I've looked up, like Charlie Chaplin or Al Pacino, have been unhappy in their growing up years. Do you think that is where your desire to act or to be someone else comes from?
For me, I don't know if it was being unhappy, but it was definitely had to do with shyness. I think I was painfully shy when I was very little and very quiet, and so I would cover that up and hide behind like a sense of humor and being a clown and being a class clown, so that I wouldn't really have to be myself in front of people. And yeah, I think that's where it has come from for me. Yes?
Yes, sorry to Rajat's play, and I really like your portrayal of the witch. I was just curious to know, when you're doing theatre and you're doing a film, is your process very different? And I remember Meryl Streep, someone asked her a question once about, so if you had to tell an aspiring actor, like, how to prepare for your role, she wouldn't know what to say to a classroom because for her so much of it is about intuition.
Yeah.
So what role does intuition play, and what's your process like with theatre?
Yeah, so the thing is, I don't think that I am a very, I'm not a natural born actor, as my brother was discussing the other day. Like, I'm not somebody who can just entertain on the spot. Like, I'm not like that kind of actor. And some people I find do that with ease. For me, I need to have a lot of information, a lot of preparation, and then I can let go, and then I can do whatever. So my process for films and for theatre is to keep the search going for as long as you can. To keep searching and keep collecting as much information. You'll use probably 10% of that information. But because you have 200%, you can really pick and choose. It's like an array of tools, and you can then pick what you want. So yeah, once you're in a role like for Macbeth, for example, it was of course, reading it and reading it and reading it again and again, reading cartoon versions of it, watching film versions of it, watching, many different productions of it. So seeing it from different kinds of perspective, and then choosing from that. Anything else? Yes.
Choice, would you like to do the movie like mainstream or Margarita?
I would like to do both. I'm really.
You're to choose one then? Zindiya, maybe the Vara type or this one? This one.
Oh my God. Well, I can't choose. It's like choosing between mother and father. I love them both. There's some irreplaceable things that I learned from commercial cinema also, because that's an overacting. Like what people call overacting is also a very genuine kind of art. If you look at Kathakali, it's overacting, but it's done with so much precision and it's an incredible work of art. So it still requires you, if you want to be truthful in it, you can do bad overacting, but you can do brilliant overacting. So that's also a challenge. Great.
Our last question.
Yes.
Can you talk about your struggling days as an actor in theatre or film?
My struggling days. My real struggling days were actually in London, where I was studying acting. I went when I was 18 till 22, and I studied in Goldsmiths drama theatre studies. And it was just a new world that I'd been thrust into. Of course, nobody thought I was going to do anything useful in life. My parents were like, what is this? Why don't you do a backup of something, do writing, something else? Don't just do this. It's like some childhood fantasy of yours. And I also got thrown into a very, very strange context, because Goldsmiths was like this very extreme left-wing art college where people had like purple hair, pink tutus, and I'm a lesbian written on a t-shirt, and I felt really normal in that circumstance, and all of this, and at the same time financially broke all the time. I was waitressing 12-hour shifts on Saturdays and Sundays. I was selling popcorn in a cinema. So I was doing workshops for kids, summer workshops, drama workshops for kids. So yeah, that was a really big struggling period for me. Being away from family, being in a different culture, not sure if I'd made the right choice in life, etc., etc. And then moving to Bombay, I never felt like I was struggling because I was so occupied with theatre. I was working with Anamika Haksar and Atul Kumar, Rajat, and I found myself quite busy. Of course, the struggle is always financial, paying the rent. I did some awful ads. I did one of those tele-shopping ads that last like 20 minutes where you're selling some useless machine. It's supposed to make you burn fat. So I'm sure it's there somewhere. But I think in terms of the journey, I was so busy doing what I loved that I didn't find it a struggle. I think the struggle happens when you're aiming to become a hero or a heroine. Like I still struggle today to find good work. I still sometimes wait 8-9 months for a good script. But in that process I'm writing or I'm doing a play or doing other things which keep the creative juices flowing. So that struggle is normal, I think, for an artist.
Out also that how the sibling who's got a job and then
Yes, in my younger days, I had a wonderfully supportive sibling to make up for the parents not supporting me.
But not quite like big brother watching you.
No, not at all. He didn't intervene too much. Okay guys, thanks so much. Thank you.